Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Alright, in today's video, I'm going to do a little comparison between these three oils here, and I'm going to do it just by pouring it out. That way you can see the viscosity of each one, and maybe this is a reason why the Ultra doesn't do so good. And, you know, I'll kind of go into a little bit about flash points too. But, well, here's the first thing, alright? I'm just going to shake these. And you can hear, okay, that's the Ultra. You'll be able to hear the difference. This is 530, full synthetic. Okay, it's about 60 degrees in here. All right, this sounds a lot thicker than this. And then the Saber's real thick. Glug, glug, glug. So thinnest to thickest, that's how it looks there. Now I'm going to pour it out on a little bit on this cardboard here and then tip it. You'll be able to see just how well it flows. All right, friends, so look at this here. I've got some oils poured out. That's Ultra, that's Saber, and that's just 5w-30. Now I'm going to tip these up. We're going to see how fast they flow. Trying to keep it consistent here. All right, there's the results. That's not what I was expecting. Again, the Ultra feels thin, but maybe the reason why is because the puddle wasn't as big, right? But this is low tech. Let's not take any of these results for granted here, but okay. So 5w-30, Amsoil Saber, Stihl Ultra. Usually the results look a little bit different than this, but at least we'll go into a little bit more. Now, I did a little bit of research about the Ultra and the Saber, and I'm going to talk about the flash point. All right, the flash point of the Ultra is 428 degrees, which is rather high. It's on the high side. The flash point for Saber, I believe, is 356 degrees. And these are all in Fahrenheit, by the way. So what does that mean? Well, high flash point isn't necessarily bad, but in a lower heat engine can cause a lot of carbon buildup problems, which is why maybe the reason why Ultra doesn't do as well in some applications as Saber would. Now the reason why is because if you use a high flash point oil in a lower heat engine, well, the oil or the engine is not going to get hot enough to fully burn off all the oil. Well, if you use a lower flash point oil, well, then it's going to have plenty of heat to fully burn off that oil. But the same thing's also true if you look at the other way. If you use a low heat oil with a lower flash point in a higher heat engine, well, then that oil is just going to evaporate off and leave the cylinder not protected. So there's a trade-off, right? And I think the reason why Saber does so well in outdoor power equipment is because it's a good mix of both. It is high enough flash point that it's going to protect in the high heat engines like chainsaws that rev really high, but it also has a low enough flash point that it's going to burn cleanly, much cleaner than Ultra. So maybe that's a reason why. Again, I think this test was a little bit misleading because in the spec sheet, this is supposed to be way thinner than that. I may have just messed up, you know, how accurate. Again, this piece of cardboard, it isn't perfect. There's lots of things that could go against this, but, you know, maybe that's a reason why that Ultra doesn't do as good and why Amsoil does a lot better. Now, I wish I still had some Husky XP because Husky XP Plus was a thin oil like Saber. Oh, I can't talk. Was like Ultra, but it flowed. It was a runny oil, but that did really well. If you saw the last short, which is I took the spark plug out of the FS38 and looked down there, there isn't really a whole lot of carbon, and the majority of that engine's life was ran on Husky XP Plus at 40 to 1. and that it looked pretty good in there. So, you know, and that oil had a very low flash point. It was only 186 degrees. So, I mean, who knows? There's a lot to take into consideration here of why some oils do better than others. But that's just kind of my thoughts. You know, if you have, I'm not the smartest person here. I'm just some guy with oil bottles that likes to do experiments here. But, you know, if you could comment down in the comments and just tell me what you've thought of, and, you know, if you're a lot smarter, which a lot of you are, tell me why, you know, get into the science of it. I'd love to know more. Anyway, friends, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day.